people back and a growth mindset,
We're
liberating
gonna
them to
to
pursue what they
making
valued with
for
passion
18,
and
and here
resilience.
we go to
I also found that these
making
mindsets could be learned or changed
index.html.
to help people break out of
index.html we created
self-defeating
here. We're
patterns.
gonna to embed, and now
New
it is
research is
embed
showing not just
for
that the growth
studio
mindset is
learning
a good
css
thing to
icons.
believe, but also that it's
That is
correct. The
today
most
I
basic
will learn
components of
css
intelligence
icon
can be taught,
here, and I
enhanced,
will be
even in
achieving
adults.
that it is going to.
And
I
personality
think we're
traits
gonna
can
to
change
open
in
with
important
license.
ways too.
Okay, we
This is
just
an
open
exciting
with my
time.
server. And
When
what
you
should I
write a
learn
book,
from here?
the hope is that it will go
I
out
can
into the
easily
world
be
and
added
make
to your
contact with, make
HTML page
friends
by
with
using
people
icon
all
library.
over the globe.
By using icon
I'm
library,
happy to
what is icon
report that
library?
mindset
Icon
is being
library like
translated
material
into
UI. We will be
17
exploring the
languages. Also,
above.
based on the book and the
The
research
simplest
in it,
way to add
I
an
received
icon HTML
awards
page
in
is the
social
with
psychology,
an icon library.
developmental
हमें
psychology,
icon library के
and
साथ जाना चाहिए,
leadership
such as
and
font awesome.
education.
Wow, font awesome.
After 2 recent
Font
columns in the
awesome.
business section of the New York
That is
Times,
like
Fortune
that's it
100 companies have become very
fantastic
interested in
library
how
of
to
font
promote a
awesome.
growth mindset.
We
A
we
cover story
just
in New York
start here
Magazine on
with
how to and how
the
not
font
to
awesome
praise your
library.
child was the most
What should
read
learn here?
story for
And
months.
all the icon
Mindset
library
has spurred
below
changes,
are scalable
innovations
vector that
in
can be
major school
customized with
systems
CSS size,
around
color,
the country.
shadow, etc. Font awesome icon.
Recruiters
We're
and
gonna to
coaches from
explore this
college and
library
professional
font awesome.
sports
Why?
teams,
It
even
is
from the U.S.
a
Olympic
very
Coaching
powerful
Committee,
library.
have said
To
that
use the font
mindset
awesome
is
icon, go to
revolutionary in its
fontawesome.com.
implications for
Okay, we're gonna
coaching.
do this library,
But the
sign in
most
and get
gratifying
code
thing has
to
been the
head
hundreds of
section
letters
of
from readers
HTML.
who say,
Here we
it's
will
working.
be, that is
So many people have said that
copy and
mindset
just
was the missing
see.
link,
That
helping
is
them to
key
see
of
why
your
they or their children or
HTML
students
code.
were struggling and what to do
Read more
differently.
about to get
People
started
in
with Font
business
Awesome
and
in Font
sports
Awesome 5
said that
tutorial.
instead of just
Font Awesome with
identifying
5
talent,
tutorial. Where
they are
is
seeing
all
results
Font
from
Awesome
developing
icons
talent.
and
They tell me how
Font
this has
Awesome?
changed the motivation and performance
We
of
just
coaches
Font
and their
Awesome icon.
athletes, of managers,
Here
leaders, and their
we
employees.
get started with free no.
My life's work has been about growth,
We create
and it
an
has
account
helped
here,
foster
send me the
my
key.
own growth. It is my sincere
105
wish
at the
that it will do the same for you, for the
we go
people you
to
work with,
click
and the people
and
you
now
live
send email, resend, confirm your email. Email, go to this email.
One day, my students sat me down and
Rest
ordered me to write
email
this book.
open in
They wanted
my
people to be able to use our
browser.
work to make their lives better.
We will be
It was something
open.
I wanted to do for a long time,
If you
but it
open this
became my number
library,
one priority.
read more about
My work
get
is part of
started
a
when
tradition
note
in
that
psychology
downloading
that shows the
installation is
power of people's
required.
beliefs. These may
Downloading
be
and
beliefs we're
installation is
aware of
required.
or
App
unaware
cloud
of,
start
but
and
they strongly
conference
affect
that
what
is
we want and
icon.
whether we succeed in
I
getting it. This tradition
I
also
don't know
shows
for
how
icon.
changing people's beliefs, even the
Icon.
simplest beliefs, can have profound effects.
Icon.
In this book, you'll learn how a simple belief about yourself,
We
a
gonna
belief we
do
discovered in our research,
script
guides a large
copy
part of your
of
life.
that.
In fact,
Here
it permeates every part
we
of your life.
just
Much of what you think of as your personality actually grows out of this mindset. Much of what may be preventing you from fulfilling your potential grows out of it. No book has ever explained this mindset and shown people how to make use of it in their lives. You'll suddenly understand the greats in the sciences and arts, in sports, and in business, and the would-have-beens. You'll understand your mate, your boss, your friends, your kids. You'll see how to unleash your potential and your children's. It is my privilege to share my findings with you. Besides accounts of people from my research, I filled each chapter with stories both ripped from the headlines and based on my own life and experience, so you can see the mindsets in action. In most cases, names and personal information have been changed to preserve anonymity. In some cases, several people have been condensed into one to make a clearer point. A number of the exchanges are recreated from memory, and I've rendered them to the best of my ability. At the end of each chapter and throughout the last chapter, I show you ways to apply the lessons. Ways to recognize the mindset that is guiding your life, to understand how it works, and to change if you wish. Chapter 1. The mindsets. When I was a young researcher just starting out, something happened that changed my life. I was obsessed with understanding how people cope with failures, and I decided to study it by watching how students grapple with hard problems. So I brought children one at a time to a room in their school, made them feel comfortable, and then gave them a series of puzzles to solve. The first ones were fairly easy, but the next ones were hard. As the students grunted, perspired, and toiled, I watched their strategies and probed what they were thinking and feeling. I expected differences among the children in how they coped with the difficulty, but I saw something I never expected. Confronted with the hard puzzles, one 10-year-old boy pulled up his chair, rubbed his hands together, smacked his lips, and cried out, "I love a challenge!" Another, sweating away on these puzzles, looked up with a pleased expression and said with authority, "You know, I was hoping this would be informative." What's wrong with them? I wondered. I had always thought you coped with failure or you didn't cope with failure. I never thought anyone loved failure. Were these alien children or were they onto something? Everyone has a role model, someone who pointed the way at a critical moment in their lives. These children were my role models. They obviously knew something I didn't, and I was determined to figure it out, to understand the kind of mindset that could turn a failure into a gift. What did they know? They knew that human qualities, such as intellectual skills, could be cultivated through effort. And that's what they were doing, getting smarter. Not only weren't they discouraged by failure, they didn't even think they were failing. They thought they were learning. I, on the other hand, thought human qualities were carved in stone. You were smart or you weren't, and failure meant you weren't. It was that simple. If you could arrange successes and avoid failures at all costs, you could stay smart. Struggles, mistakes, perseverance were just not part of this picture. Whether human qualities are things that can be cultivated or things that are carved in stone is an old issue. What these beliefs mean for you is a new one. What are the consequences of thinking that your intelligence or personality is something you can develop, as opposed to something that is a fixed, deep-seated trait? Let's first look in on the age-old, fiercely waged debate about human nature, and then return to the question of what these beliefs mean for you. Why do people differ? Since the dawn of time, people have thought
I'm going to
differently,
copy
acted
this,
differently,
and now
and
this is
fared
script
differently
copy
from each
here.
other. It was
will be
guaranteed that
paste
someone
here.
would ask the question of why people
That
differed,
is pasted
why
in
some
my
people are smarter or more moral, or whether there was something that made them permanently different.
For example,
Experts lined up on both sides.
minus
Some claimed that there was a strong physical basis for these differences, making them unavoidable and unalterable.
this, and this is
Through the ages, these
showing
alleged
icon.
physical differences
Okay.
have included bumps on the skull,
Bootstrap icon.
phrenology,
That is
the
bootstrap
size
icon.
and shape of
To
the
use
skull,
bootstrap
craniology,
icon, grab
and
the
today,
following line
genes.
inside head.
Others pointed to
Section
the strong
HTML like
differences in
this,
people's
link
backgrounds,
CSS
experiences,
bootstrap,
training,
and
or
we
ways of
go to
learning.
use
It may
bootstrap
surprise you to
icon.
know that a big champion
That
of
is
this
a
view was
bootstrap
Alfred
icon
Binet,
used
the
without
inventor of the IQ test.
linking or
Wasn't the IQ test
that
meant to summarize children's unchangeable intelligence?
here.
In fact,
It
no.
is
Binet,
bootstrap
a
icon.
Frenchman working in Paris in the early
I'm going
20th
to
century,
copy this
designed
and
this
just
test to identify
copy.
children who were not profiting from the
Maybe
Paris
copy
public
this
schools,
again.
so that new educational programs
H2.
could be designed to get them back on
Good.
track. Without denying individual differences in children's intellects,
Now
he
we'll be
believed
paste
that
here. It
education
is a
and
pasted
practice
here.
could
We're
bring
gonna
about
to
fundamental changes in
shift alt
intelligence.
and F
Here is a
and
quote from one
formatting.
of his major books,
This is a
Modern Ideas About Children,
some
in
bootstrap
which he summarizes his work with hundreds of children with learning
icon.
difficulties.
We just search
A
for
few
this
modern
library
philosophers
bootstrap icon.
assert that an individual's intelligence is a fixed quantity, a quantity which cannot be increased. We must protest and react against this brutal
Right, yourself
pessimism.
this Google icon.
With practice,
To use the
training,
Google icon
and
for
above
going
all,
ahead.
method,
Like
we
that,
manage to
Google
increase
icon
our
and
attention,
Google
our
icon
memory,
button,
our
icon
judgment,
button.
and literally
That
to
is
become more
icon.
intelligent than we were
Icon
before.
icon.
Who's right?
Who's
Today,
right?
most experts agree that it's not either or. It's not nature or nurture, genes or environment.
Like that.
From conception on, there's a constant give and take between the two.
Guys,
In fact, as Gilbert Gottlieb, an eminent neuroscientist, put it, not only do genes and environment cooperate as we develop, but genes require input from the environment to work properly.
Google.
At the same time, scientists are learning that people have more capacity for lifelong learning and brain development than they ever thought. Of course, each person has a unique genetic endowment. People may start with different temperaments and different aptitudes, but it is clear that experience, training, and personal effort take them the rest of the way. Robert Sternberg, the present-day guru of intelligence, writes that the major factor in whether people achieve expertise is not some fixed prior ability, but purposeful engagement. Or, as his forerunner Binet recognized, it's not always the people who start out the smartest who end up the smartest.
Exercise.
What does all this mean for you?
Exercise.
The two mindsets.
I tag for in CSS
It's one
will
thing
be
to have
used to
pundits
for
spouting their
icon.
opinions about
And now
scientific
it is the
issues.
I that
It's
is
another
used
thing to
for
understand how these
rate
views
and
apply to you.
attachment.
For 20
Is
years,
that
my
I-
research has shown that the view
is
you
not
adopt
an-
for yourself
this is a
profoundly
cloud.
affects the way you lead your life.
And that is
It can determine whether you become the person you want to be and whether you accomplish the things you value.
icon.
How does this happen? How can a simple belief have the power to transform your psychology and, as a result, your life? Believing that your qualities are carved in stone, the fixed mindset, creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over. If you have only a certain amount of intelligence, a certain personality, and a certain moral character, well then you'd better prove that you have a healthy dose of them.
HTML file.
It simply wouldn't
The
do
photos
to
on my
look
icon
or
would
feel
show me
deficient
the
in these
icon.
most basic
But
characteristics.
just answer that
Some of us are
question.
trained in this mindset from an early age.
Completed, and that
Even
is
as a
which
child,
element
I was
can be
focused
used
on
in.
being smart.
In your
But the
HTML
fixed
icon
mindset was
and
really
I
stamped in by
will be
Mrs. Wilson, my
What is
6th
pen?
grade teacher.
स्पेन
Unlike
के लिए
Alfred
भी यूज करते हैं
Binet, she
हम
believed
आइकन
that
को
people's IQ scores
वैसे
told the whole
आई
story of who they were.
टैग
We were seated around the room in IQ order,
MDN
and only the highest IQ students could be trusted to carry the flag,
which
crack the
library provides
erasers,
the
or take notes to principal.
glyph
Aside from the
icon
daily
class
stomach aches she
for
would go through
icon
her judgmental stance,
and we gonna
she was creating a mindset
glyph
in which
icon.
everyone in the class had
It
one
is the
consuming goal.
bootstrap.
Look smart, don't look
It
dumb.
is a bootstrap.
Who cared
It
about
is
or
just a
enjoyed learning
bootstrap
when our
icon.
whole being was at
Either
stake
that
every time
glyph
she gave
icon,
us a
cloud
test
removal
or
user
called
and
on
point
us in
them up.
class?
Either that here
I've
is
seen
a
so many
icon
people
my
with this
thumbs.
one
It is
consuming
a
goal
like
of
a
proving
Google.
themselves. In the classroom, in their careers, and in their relationships. Every situation calls for a confirmation of their intelligence, personality, or character. Every situation is
Complete my
evaluated.
exercise.
Will I
Thank
succeed
you
or
for
fail?
watching.
Will